hope you fail. I hope you fail so spectacularly that you experience what it is like to fall flat on your face, so that you can also experience what it's like to pick yourself back up again and keep trying. Honestly, this is my wish for a lot of people, to experience the depths of what it feels like to fail, so that you don't see failure as the end of the world, so that you stop fearing failure and start actually seeing failure as part of the process. I was listening to this podcast a couple months back, and I think it was Jay Shetty and someone, Matthew McConaughey, one of those. Like, Jay Shetty was interviewing Matthew McConaughey, and he said something that I couldn't get out of my head. And he basically said that there is a problem with the Western definition of failure, which is why a lot of people actually avoid it. And I was like, okay, what's he talking about? And so when I started looking into this, I realized that in Western societies, we view failure as a step back. Success in our society, in our terms, is linear. And so we are trying to get from point A to point B. Point B is the finish line, the big goal that we're working towards. And if you fail, that means that you are going backwards. That means that if you fail, oh shit, I failed, I gotta go backwards, right? A step back, a failure. But in Eastern philosophies, success is actually viewed as cyclical. So rather than seeing failure as a step back, it's actually seeing failure as a necessary step for reaching success. And when I started thinking about this, I was just like, literally, failure is one of those things that is inevitable. Every idea needs to fail 1,000 or 100 or 1,000 times before it succeeds. Look at Edison with a light bulb. Look at every single big invention out there that has changed humanity, that has changed people's lives. It had to fail first before it succeeded. If we started something and everything was an immediate success, where's the fun in that? What fulfillment will that bring? But the problem is, we see failure as a step back. We see failure and we see it as a sign that we're not meant to be doing this. We see failure as, oh, I'm not meant for this. When really, we just need to reframe failure as something that is essential, something that is part of life. It's the same as rejection. A lot of the times I tell clients, I was just like, make it your goal to get 10 no's, to get 10 rejections from people. Because guess what? As you get those 10 no's, you'll probably also get a yes. Rejection is literally part of the process of winning. If you speak to any salesperson, they'll be like, yeah, rejection is part of the process. So why are you shying away from it? Why are you shying away from failing? Why are you shying away from calling your shot and going for it? And I realized that this is largely due to our conditioning, to how we've been brought up, to how we view success. And so I remember this was a couple of years ago, and my nephew, who is super freaking phenomenal and very, very smart, he interns with our company. He actually works for our company. He started interning there. But years ago, he asked Tom, he was just like, what is your advice for someone like me? He goes like, I want to start my own business. I don't think college is for me. What is your biggest piece of advice? And Tom kind of pauses for a while, and Tom just looks at him and goes, I'm going to tell you something that I wish someone told me sooner, and it is to fail faster. And my nephew was like, what? Why do I want to fail? I want to win. I want to make money. I want to start my own business. And Tom was just like, yeah, but the only way for you to get there is for you to fail fast, for you to try 100 freaking ideas, 100 freaking offers, and go, that didn't work out. That was okay. That didn't work. let me try again. Let me try again. Let me keep trying. But a lot of the times, people fail and then they let that define them. They're like, my launch didn't go as planned. The business that I tried launching didn't take off. I don't feel like I'm enough. They make the failure mean something about them rather than understanding that it is part of the process. The only difference between winners and losers are the winners never stopped trying. The winners kept going even though they were punched in the face over and over again. In business, like I say this all the time, business and entrepreneurship, it is not easy. It is not easy. If it was easy, everyone will be doing it. And the reason why entrepreneurs are called the 1% crazy is because no matter how difficult, we would still be doing this. No matter, like I did a VIP content weekend and it was phenomenal. And I remember Glow asking me, she was just like, what makes you so interested in business? You guys are serial entrepreneurs. You've already seen success. You're running 2 companies at the same time. She's like, what motivates you? And I go, to be honest, we are in love with the game of trying something and falling flat on your face and getting punched 3 times and then seeing this like whoosh, seeing this like spark of, oh my gosh, yes, it's finally working. And you have to be a little crazy to succeed in business. You have to be a little delusional. You have to be willing to brush off the failures and keep trying over and over again. But I think that's what sets people apart, the successful people at least, is your willingness to fail and keep trying. Your willingness to go, well, that didn't quite work. Let me try this again. And to be able to do that without wavering your belief is so important. If you watch my video from yesterday, I talk about how successful people still move in spite of the fear and the doubt. That is still there. That is a constant that won't disappear, no matter how successful you are. But the successful people have this unshakable belief that they can do it, unshakable belief that at the end of the day they will succeed, and so they keep trying. And so if you're someone who, if you're watching this and you're going, yeah, I failed, and I'm seeing that as a sign as this isn't for me. Whatever this is, failed in dating, failed in starting a business, failed in whatever it is, right? I want you to think of whatever circumstance that you have in your head that you're just like, yeah, I failed in that. I was just like, okay, if you still want it, are you still willing to try? If you actually really, really want it, are you still going to put yourself out there? And rather than seeing failure as this wasn't meant for me, challenge yourself. Keep putting yourself out there. Keep doing the reps and putting in the work so that success becomes an inevitability because you tried hard enough, because you really put in the reps. When I say put in the reps, a lot of people mistake this as just hustling, as just like doing the thing over and over again. There is such a thing as you're taking the actions, but you need to make sure that the actions that you are taking is actually different. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. But if you're constantly dedicated to improving your craft, if you're constantly dedicated to taking on new skills, learning, into having this unshakable belief and mental fortitude, if you're constantly working on yourself and you're willing to fail and fail fast so that you can get to the successful part faster, sky's the limit. You can do anything. And I think that's the part of entrepreneurship that really excites me. It's how can I get through the failure as fast as I can so I can start enjoying? And I go through this in cycles. Just because I've built successful businesses, it doesn't mean that I don't fail. It doesn't mean that I don't try new offers and go, ooh, that didn't quite work. Or it doesn't mean that I'm not selling and sometimes it feels weird and sticky and I'm like, yeah, this isn't what I was meant to do. I still fail, but the difference is I'm back up again. I'm back up again, I pick myself up, I try again, and I don't let it mean anything about me. I would never let money, how many offers I sell, how much success I have in business define who I am, because I'm more than that. And so a lot of the times we let money actually dictate how we show up in life, dictate how we show up in business, when if you truly saw yourself and the magic that you bring to the table, money and the results that you currently have is not going to be a factor to how you show up. Again, it goes back to confidence. Do you think you need confidence before you take action? No, it's the other way around. Action is what builds the confidence. So if you're watching this video and you're scared of failure, I want you to reframe that in your head and see failure as part of the journey. See failure as, no, I had to go through that. I had to go through those times where everyone was saying no, where things felt like they weren't working, so that you can finally discover what's working, so that you can finally see, damn, this is what I was meant to be doing. Oh, this is what I was actually meant to be doing. But you're only going to get there through trial and error, through figuring out what works, through getting the rejections, getting the no's, falling flat on your face. And so my point in this video is failure is part of the journey. Don't be scared of it. What is the worst thing that can happen? Imagine it in your head. And then as soon as you start doing that, you start thinking, oh, it's actually not as bad as I thought. It's actually not as bad as I thought. And in fact, what was I so afraid of? A lot of the times we are so afraid of failing that we don't actually take the steps to succeed, because we're letting this stop us. We're letting that actually dictate how we show up in business, in life. We're so afraid of things that it ends up keeping us small. You know, one of the biggest fears that I really have is living an ordinary life. And I don't mean that I have to be jet-setting around the world, or I have to be traveling to exotic countries or living in beautiful places. Like, for me, an ordinary life means that I didn't go for the things that I really wanted to go for because I was too scared. That I didn't even try. And so I think that one of the biggest qualities and best qualities that I love about myself is my ability to try. My ability to go, well, this might not work, but what if it does? What if it does? Like, I say this to my clients all the time. It's like, can you imagine how beautiful life would be if we all played in the energy of what if? What if this one video that I post will get me thousands of followers? What if the book that I write will become an international bestseller, which is my big intention that I am putting out in the universe? What if the idea and offer that I had while lying in bed at 3 a.m., if I launched it and wasn't so worried about who's gonna buy and what will people say, and you sell it out? What if you go on that date that you finally just decided you were gonna put yourself out there and you meet the love of your life? Like, playing in the energy of what if is so beautiful, because you are not thinking of the fears, you're not thinking of the doubts, you're not thinking of, but what if I fail? And then all of a sudden, you feel so free. You feel like the sky is your limit, or the limit does not even exist. And so as soon as you play in this energy and get yourself excited, you'll figure out that failure is part of the process. That for me to actually get to the good part, you gotta get through the shit. You gotta get through the failing. And the sooner you do it, it's like ripping off a Band-Aid. The sooner you do it, you're just like, wow, that wasn't too bad. Let me do it again and again and again, and then you'll find your success. If you found this helpful, drop a comment in the chat, in the videos. You know, I'm still getting a hang of how YouTube works. I really just decided to start creating these long form pieces of content around the ramblings that go on in my head, the thoughts that I go through on a daily basis. And today, for my video on thinking out loud, it's this. It's why do we feel failure, and actually learning how to reframe failure as part of the success. So drop me a comment in the comment section if you found this useful. Bye.